السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء والمرسلين وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. Brothers and sisters, we in our second chapter we'll discuss a very important topic of Fiqh Muamalat, which is the beginning of all discussion, which is al-mal and al-milkiyyah, which is what is property and ownership. So in this chapter, we'll discuss what is called property according to the Sharia, what is accepted in the Sharia as something mal or property, what are the components of it, what are the types of property in the Sharia, and then we'll talk about milkiya, ownership, how somebody can have ownership on something from Sharia perspective, and different types of ownerships, and also finally how our ownership can be removed in from Sharia perspective. So let us see the definition of al-mal or property. Okay, so actually the word mal cannot be translated well in English as property. The word mal is more I would say comprehensive than the word property in English. So it is better to use the Arabic term mal rather than the English word property. So the word mal actually literally means what a person owns or possesses. It can be translated as property, or it can be capital and wealth. So that is called al-mal. Is in the Quran. Al-mal wal banuna zinatul hayati dunya. So properties, children, they are the beauty of this world. So the word mal generally means property. Okay. However, in the technically from Sharia perspective, actually the scholars, the Hanafi, the Shafi'i, and the Hanbali scholars, they have uh, defined mal from different perspective. They have a different definitions. But I don't want to make you confused. So I just took the most accepted opinion, which says is mal is a thing that has a material value among people. So means that mal or property is something which is valuable among people. Some in the society people consider it is something valuable, and this can be either one of these three things. This is either a corporal, is a ain, okay, is something we can see, is okay, an asset that we can see, we can touch, or a usufruct means manfaat, a benefit or a service, or right or hak. It is a means I have right, for example, to walk on this road. So property is something that has a value among people, and it can be either three. It can be an asset, okay, a corporal, or it can be even a service or a right. So what are these three components of a property? So let us discuss. For example, ain, okay, is a property that has a physical existence, like car, like computer, okay, that we can see, we can touch. That is we call ain, okay, or we call corporal. That or we can say it the physical property. That is called ain. For example, car. And then manfaah. Manfaah is service, okay, some kind of benefit that may be utilized in a special way. So it is a benefit that we can get from a property. For example, car renting service, okay, a service. So here it is a service that to use the car, but we don't really own a car, okay. So this is called manfaah, to get the benefit. Renting a house, we own the benefit of staying the house, but we do not own the house, for example. Okay, so that is called manfa'a, or service. So any kind of service according to the Sharia is considered also mal or property. Third is the haq, right, okay, a special right over a particular property. So somebody has a right on something, okay. For example, the right over a pathway to, okay, means someone's right to walk on the street. For example, we have in front of UNISA we have jalan, okay, gong badak. So all of us, we have the right to walk or to drive on that road. So this is the, it's a right. However, we do not own that road, means that, well, we cannot sell that road to someone else, or we cannot only use it for our own self, okay, but we have the right. For example, another example can be like husband and wife. The husband has a right on wife, wife has a right on husband. So this is a right, but that right cannot be sold to others. So these are the three components. All of it, we call it mal or property. Okay, so these are the three components. All are accepted in the Sharia as mal or property. Maybe some of the classical scholars, they didn't consider like haq or manfa'ah as property earlier, but recently all the scholars, they agreed, and this is the weightiest opinion, that all these three components are called mal or property. Okay, so now this property has a four classifications based on whether the property can last or cannot last. Okay, based on the value of the property, whether it has a value in the Sharia, and then the movability, whether the property can move or not, and finally the fungibility, whether the similar product available in the market or not. So let's see the definition one by one. Okay, so first is the classification in terms of value, whether the property is valuable in the eye of Sharia. Okay, whether it is valuable in the Sharia. Okay, so we have divided into two. One is called mutaqawwim, is valuable. Another one is ghairu mutaqawwim, is non-valuable. So mutaqawwim or valuable, it is allowed in the Sharia to possess it and get benefit from it, like car. So car is a property, it is a valuable, and the Sharia allows us to use it, so it is called mal mutaqawim. So the opposite to it is ghairu mutaqawim, the property that we cannot use it from Sharia perspective. Sharia does not consider it as a valuable item. For example, pig or dead animal. Okay, so pig, which is prohibited in the Sharia, so it is not valuable according to Sharia. So it is not allowed for a Muslim to own it, or even dead animals, okay, because they are also prohibited. So what is the impact of this classification? Okay, so according to Sharia, the thing mal mutaqawim, the property which has a value in the Sharia, if we destroy it, we have to compensate it. Okay, and the ghairu mutaqawim, not valuable, if we destroy it, we don't have to compensate it. For example, if a Muslim owns pig, for example, or dead animals or alcohol, and if we destroy it, according to the Sharia, we don't have to compensate it. However, if a non-Muslim owns pig or alcohol, if we destroy it, the weightiest opinion, accepted opinion among the scholar, is that we have to compensate it, because this is a property uh, it is property to the non-Muslims, but it is not a property to a Muslim. Then we move on the classification of fungibility. What is fungibility? Fungibility means if whether the same product with the same standard is available in the market or not. So that can be divided into two, mithli and mithli. Mithli means fungible. Okay, item, okay, is one that has a standard replacement in the market, whose prices are identical or very close. So mithli item is something that we can get the similar in the market. For example, a Proton Saga car, okay, the latest edition. So once, okay, if one Proton Saga car is lost or destroyed by someone, so he can replace it by the similar. Okay, or maybe say that a computer, let's say one brand of computer, HP, or so if it is destroyed, okay, by let's say your friend borrowed this computer from you and he destroyed it, so he can replace you with the similar one from the market. So that is we call mithli, that we can find the exact similar one in the market. However, Okay, so this mithli can be divided into four types. Okay, some of the property that is measured by volume, like milk. Okay, so if the milk is lost or destroyed or spoiled, okay, so the similar amount of milk can be used to compensate. A property that can be weighted, like gold. So gold also is a mithli that we can get the similar one in the market. Okay, property that can be counted, like eggs. Okay, so egg is considered mithli, even though there are different types of eggs, but we can actually get the similar. And clothes, okay, property that can be measured with a yard. Okay, like clothes. So all these types of properties, we can call it mithli, that can be found in the market. All right, and then okay, let's see what are the non-fungible, okay, or Qimi, that are not, we cannot find the equivalent in the market. Okay, or similar property is available, but the prices significantly vary from one another. So that type of property we can call Qimi. We can means a property that we cannot get the similar one in the market. For example, animals like goat or cows. We If it is okay, let's say a cow. Okay, if the friend of the cow's owner, he took the cow, for example, and he lost it, he cannot actually replace with the similar, because it's very difficult to find the similar one. So how he will compensate? He will compensate by money. Okay, arts, of course, this is one and only, like the Mona Lisa, the arts of Mona Lisa, Leonardo da Vinci, or any other kind of arts which is actually special kind of asset that cannot get replacement. Used car. Okay, somebody use a car. Let's say that Proton Saga he used for 3 years. So it is very difficult to get the similar type of car. Okay, antique watches or any kind of thing. If somebody use clothes or all those are Qimi or non-fungible. So what are the benefit what is the benefit of this classification? The first is compensation. Okay, if the property is fungible, means if the property we can get the similar in the market, so if we destroy it, we have to compensate with the similar one. Let's say if I borrowed a new Proton Saga car from my friend, and I destroyed it, so I have to replace it with the similar Proton Saga car. But if it is a non-fungible, for example, I have okay, taken a piece of artwork from my friend and then I destroyed it, so I have to pay by money. I have to pay the compensation by money, because I cannot find the similar amount. Okay, and then another important issue of this classification is riba al-fadl. Okay, riba of by excess. Okay, we will learn further the classification of riba. So there are two types of riba. One is riba al-fadl, another one is riba al-nasi'ah. Okay, so nasi'ah is due to the deferment. Another one, riba al-fadl, is when we exchange two things and they are not equivalent, then that will be called riba al-fadl. Okay, riba in excess. So this riba al-fadl will be applicable to the fungible items, but it will not be applicable to Qimi or non-fungible items. So, for example, riba can be applicable to applicable to, for example, milk. If we exchange 1 liter of milk with 2 liter of milk, so it will be riba. Okay, or if we exchange 1 kilogram of, for example, dates with 2 kilogram of dates, so it can be riba, because riba of excess. Okay, increment. So we need to exchange 1 kilogram of dates with another 1 kilogram of date, that's mentioned in the hadith. However, the thing is still controversial, and there are different sets of scholars opinion in terms of this. But what we can conclude or here is that if the item is schemy, there is no issue of riba. But the item, the asset is fungible, so there may have an issue of riba al-fadl. Okay, so another one which is I think very easy classification. A property can be divided whether it can be moved or not. Okay, so there are some movable property, and most of the properties are movable, like computer, clothes, and there are some property which is called goiro manqul, non-movable. So the example of it is real estate or land that we cannot move. Okay, so what is the impact of this classification? So according to the Hanafi school, wakaf not allowed for Ghair Manqul property. So if if we want to do wakaf, so according to Hanafi, only land can be given as wakaf. However, uh, for contemporary scholars and others, this any kind of property, even the movable properties, can be given as wakaf. Another important issue is the shuf'ah. Okay, shuf'ah is a we call preemption right, where means if you have a piece of land and if you want to sell that piece of land, so your neighbor who has the land beside your land, he has the right to buy it first. So if you do not sell to him, you sell to someone else, then he can go to the court and he asks for the exercise of shuf'ah, his right. So the judge actually can cancel the sale, and then the judge will force you to sell to your neighbor, for example. So this is called shuf'ah according to the Hanafi scholars. But if I'm not mistaken, the shufa is not considered in Mazhab Shafi'i. Okay, and then another important thing which is very important nowadays is discharging the debtor's property. Okay, so when somebody goes bankrupt and he has movable property and immovable property, so ghaire mankul proceeds the mankul, means that if somebody is declared bankrupt and the authority wants to sell off his property to buy to pay back his debt. So at that time, the non-movable properties will be sold first, and then the movable property. This is to take care of the interest of the debtor. Okay, so and then properties based on lasting and non-lasting. Some of the properties that can last long, for example, uh, a car. Okay, but some properties they do not last. If you use it once, it will finish. For example, food stuff. If we use it once, so it will finish. So the property is called istihlaki, non-lasting. Okay, if it finishes or we mean if we need to use it, we must destroy it. For example, the very concrete example of this is the food stuff. Okay, food, of course we cannot just watch and see, cannot, we have to eat it, so we need to destroy it. So that is we call non-lasting. Okay, and then lasting, the property or asset that can be that we can use without destroying it. For example, a book, or a computer, a car, okay, or a house. So all these type of properties, if it will last, even we can use it. It means after we finish our use, it is still there. But food, if we use it, it's not there. Okay, so this is the two types: istihlaki and isti'mali. Okay, so what is the benefit of this classification? Okay, first, validation of ijara contract. So the property which is isti'mali, which is lasting, okay, that one we can give as rent. For example, house, car, computer, we can we can lease it. However, food stuff we cannot lease. Okay, so it is not suitable for ijara, which is istihlaki. And then differentiation between of qard and arya. Okay, if istihlaki, like food stuff, we can give as qard, loan, like money. Money actually is istihlaki, means if we use the money, it will finish, right? Of course, the notes, it will last for long, but we need to use it. Like we buy something, so we have to finish we have to give the money to somebody else. So money is because it is istihlaki, it will not last, so it is considered as qard. So qard contract or loan contract applies to istihlaki, means we give somebody loan and the person will use it, and then he will replace with the similar amount. But ariyah is something that where we give somebody a piece of property which is not which is lasting, okay, isti'mali. For example, we give our computer, our car, okay, or our house to somebody to use it, okay, for free. That one we call ariyah. So this is also praise of the contract in Sharia. Okay, so let's say we have a computer, so we give it to our friend to use it for 1 week. Okay, so this one is not called qard. It is called ariyah in the Sharia. Means to give somebody to use our property for free. Okay, for fixed time. So that is called ariyah. But if we give money to our friend for use, okay, then that one will be use qard, because he will use it, consume it. Okay, but the laptop or card, he will not consume it. So that is the difference between qard and ariyah. Okay, so now that was the classification of different type of contracts. So now we move to the ownership, how somebody can be the owner of a property from Sharia perspective. Okay, so what is the ownership in the Sharia? The word is called Milkiyyah. Okay, Milkiyyah means to possess a thing, the ability to use and dispose it. Okay, to be the owner and to dispose, to sell it. And then Malik is the owner, like we recite in Surah Al-Fatiha, Maliki Yaumiddin, the owner of the day of judgment. So, what is the technical definition in the Sharia? So, the scholar said it is a relationship, okay, between a man and property that has been established by the Sharia, through which he exercises exclusive control and right of disposal over it, as long as there is no Sharia restriction. So, it is a relationship between the man and the property that he has the right to control it. He has exclusive right to control it, and also to use it, okay, to take the benefit from it, and also to right of disposal, to sell it to somebody or to give as a gift to somebody, as long as there is no Sharia restriction. So here is a important point. So in the West or in other jurisdiction, the owner of the property, okay, he can use with his wealth whatever he want. So in the Sharia, yes, he is the owner. He can do whatever he want, provided that it is allowed in the Sharia. Okay, so somebody owns, an asset. Okay, so he can use it as long as it is halal. So here, from this definition and also from the scholars' opinion, we can get some characteristics of ownership from Sharia perspective. So first, Islam has put great emphasis on the sanctity of property and its ownership. So unlike the communism and some other kind of ideologies where they do not honor, okay, individual ownership, but according to Islam, Islam put a great concern on the ownership. People can own uh, property because it will lead them to, it's a motivation for them to work. Okay, and then however, according to Islam, a man can be the owner and he can use it, but he needs to use it properly. And this property, he is actually not the ultimate owner. The original owner of the property is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Allah is the owner, and he has given us this property, so we are actually trustee, as in the Quran said, mustakhlifina fil ard. We are the Khalifa, or we are just a trustee. We have been given this wealth so that we can use this wealth to achieve an objective, which is the falah or success in this world and in the hereafter. So in Islamic Sharia, the ownership is not absolute. Okay, first, the Sharia considers ownership. We can be the owner, and of course, everybody's property is honored. Okay, is respected, like the day of Hajj. However, we are not the absolute owner. We, Allah Subhanahu wa Taala is the absolute owner of the property. We are actually given as a trustee to use this well so that we can maximize the benefit to achieve our goal, which is to achieve falah or success in this world and in the hereafter. Okay, so now what are the types of ownership in the Sharia? Okay, there are two types of ownerships in the Sharia. One is the milkutam, complete ownership, where you have the full right over both the substance and usufruct of the property. Okay, you own the property, you have the right to sell it. Okay, so that is the complete ownership. But the deficient ownership or milkun naqis, which is the owner has right over either the substance or the usufruct. Remember, we have discussed three components of property in the Sharia: al ain, okay, al manfa'a, ain the substance or the corporal, and the manfa'a is the service or the right, al haq. So al milkun naqis, where you just own one of these three, okay, then you will have the deficient ownerships or incomplete ownership. So for example, you own a car, service only, you own to use it, you own the benefit, but you do not have the right to sell it to others, so you just own the benefit. Okay, or you just have the right on something, you have the right to use the car, but you cannot sell it, so that is maybe only your right. You have the right to you have the right to what we call to pass, okay, to go through, or we have the right to get some benefit. Okay, so that is milkun nakes. For example, you have been invited to a wedding ceremony, so you have the right to eat whatever you want, but you cannot sell that food, you cannot sell that food to others, no. So you have the right to eat, but you cannot sell it to others. So that is we call deficient ownership, where you do not have the complete ownership. Maybe you can just own the service, or you can just own the right, or you can own the substance, but you do not own the user frag. So that is called milk and naqis. Okay. Then the ownership also can be divided from different perspective, like some call mm, okay, from the nature of the owner. Some are private ownership, some are public ownership. Private ownership like individual, okay, so let's say I own something, or me and my brother own a piece of land, so these are private ownership. Public ownership, like which is owned by the public, all of us the owners, nobody, means all of us own, but we do not have a specified part. Okay, like mosque, all of us have the right to enter the mosque, to pray in the mosque, but nobody can claim his own ownership in like he cannot say, okay, this part of mosque belongs to me, no. Same like the streets or the wakaf land, so all are public properties. Natural resources like water, petrol, means the petrol in the, of course, the water in the sea, all is belong to all public. Okay, even of course the processed water, the bottled water is of course it is a private property, but the water in general, water in the river, okay, all these are public properties, as there is a hadith that the Muslims, okay, they are the owner of three things: alma, al kala, wan nar. So the water, okay, and then the bushes, the jungle, and also the grasses, so all are public properties. So, however, if somebody takes the water, he process it, then maybe it will be a private property. Same with the petrol. Petrol means natural resources. So natural resources actually belongs to the public. Okay, so the government will maybe owns it on behalf of the public. Okay. Property transfer to government treasury, like lost property, property does not have any inheritor. So any property which is lost and nobody claim it within the time, or somebody pass away and he does not have any inheritor. And in Malaysia, you see, is a lot. I think 45 billion of assets in Malaysia that doesn't have any owner. Okay, so all this property belongs to public. Okay, so actually the government is actually the handling it on behalf of the public. So it belongs to the government doesn't mean that it belongs to the government. It actually belongs to the public. The government is managing it on behalf of the public. Okay. uh, So now we move to another topic, which is how, from the Sharia perspective, how somebody can be the owner of an asset. So there are three ways somebody can be the owner of an asset. First is taking possession of permissible properties. Means if an asset which is permissible, halal, and if somebody takes possession, goes and grabs it, then he will be the owner. So how? For example, in the Sharia, we have a concept of ihya al-mawat, which is called reviving the dead land. Okay, so if a piece of land does not belong to anybody, and somebody goes there and he possesses it, he will be the owner. Okay, for example, it is a piece of land and it's a jungle, for example. So somebody goes there, he cleans it, he starts to cultivate it, so he will be the owner. However, it should be according to the law of the land. So, for example, in Malaysia, Ihya al-Mawat still applies, but there are some restrictions. Okay, the person should be the native person, like Bumi Putra, if I'm not mistaken. So if he goes to if he takes possession of a land, okay, which is not belong to anybody, so he'll be the owner. Okay, or sometimes through hunting. Okay, if somebody hunts, or fishing, okay, so he'll be the if he fishes okay, from the sea, okay, and so he will be the owner. But okay, but you can, if you do fishing in Unisa river, you will not be the owner, okay, because it is prohibited. uh, okay, so that's the first way of being the owner. The second way is through contracts, to transfer ownership. Is through buying and selling. You buy something, or you got donation or gift, okay, from someone, then you will be the owner. And the third way to be the owner is through succession, through mirath, through inheritance. Okay, so somebody can get inheritance through his father, or maybe mother or brother, or children. So that's we call the fara'id. So that's the way to be the owner. So these are the three ways someone can be the owner of an asset. So, and then, according to the Sharia, if somebody is the legal owner, his ownership can be taken away. There are three. The first one is we just discussed earlier, from the shufa'ah, preemption right. Okay. However, it is not accepted by all the scholars, and if I'm not mistaken, according to the Shafi, it's not allowed. But according to Hanafi, they consider the shufa'ah right. So what is this right? Again, that if you have a piece of land, okay, so when you want to sell it, your neighbor, means who has the land beside your land, he has the right. Actually, he will be given priority to purchase it. But if he does not purchase, then you are allowed to sell to somebody else. So if, let's say, you sell a piece of land to somebody who is far from this area, and then however, your neighbor, he actually wanted to buy, but you didn't sell to him, so that owner can go to the court, and then he can ask for his preemption right, or shufa. So in that case, the one who purchased the land who is from far, okay, so he will lose his ownership, and then your neighbor will be the new owner. So that is okay. So why this ruling is all about? So actually, this one to take care of the maslahah, the public interests, okay, or benefits of the neighbors, or what we call musharik, the partners. Let's say you and your brother, you own a piece of land, then you sell the half portion to somebody else. So your brother or your neighbor that owns the land beside you, so he may face some kind of difficulty. So because of the new owner, so that's why the Sharia considers this ashufa'ah. Okay, the Sharia gives priority to the neighbor or the partner, who is the partner or in terms of the ownership of the land. And the second way to remove the ownership is through the debt settlement, where if somebody borrows money and he cannot pays back within the deadline, then his property can be sold off to repay his debt. And then public interest. Okay, public interest is okay, should be taken care of. So if I think it is quite common in other laws, if let's say the government wants to make highway, airport, or whatsoever, or train. So the government has the right to take the private land, okay, just to take care of the public interest. Of course, but they should be compensated in this case. So these are the three ways the ownership can be removed from a person. So that's all on this chapter. So we have already discussed what is al-mal, ownership in the Sharia. So what are the types of mal, okay, in the Sharia? And then we have discussed al-milkiyyah, what is the ownership in the Sharia, the characteristics of Islamic ownership, and the different types of ownership in the Sharia, and also how the ownership can be established and how it can be removed in the Sharia. So with that, I thank you. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.